make sure everything was like put back to normal so it doesn't look all like
So they're...
destroyed because we have stuff everywhere.
Now, when was the park gonna get at Highway Park?
14th.
And you'll be ready, or
Okay.
next year?
The goal is,
Okay. Sorry, Michael's, I would hope to be out of here by 8.
Yeah, 10
If
meets
you
is
can.
fine.
Okay, so today's Monday, April 6th, Economic Development Committee, we're calling to order. Let's see, first minute approval, we sent around the minutes earlier today. I had a chance to look at it, everything looked pretty good to me. I don't know if anybody else had a chance to look at it. We did a lot of talking, no real votes or anything.
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, and then Helene Kenner, today's 4/7, 4/6/15 HD. This is for you. Okay. The Town Common unveiling review. I'm going to play this video. I don't know, I don't recall seeing any of you at the unveiling. No big
Sorry.
deal, no big deal.
Spirit.
No big deal, that's right, in spirit. This was the video that was, play it now. This was like the unveiling. This was on Facebook.
Is this the same on Facebook?
Yeah, it's the same one.
This is the event at the International.
This was the event at the International. Yep.
That's great.
that was great.
That was, I don't know the gentleman's name, but he grew up in Bolton.
He did?
And,
Can you play one more
sure,
time?
sure.
That's phenomenal.
You ever seen that?
No, I haven't seen it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it must not be on social media.
No.
What I want to do, I want to show you, just stop this.
Now, is that the actual design?
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to come out, so yes, it's the design, but if you go to, this is the Bolton Town Common webpage. If you come down to, okay, let me see one more. Okay, this gives you a picture of each one of the components. It does, unfortunately, it's not very big. So if you go to Bolton Town Common, so basically, this is, which is on our agenda, 711 and 713 Main Street. This is Reflections and the old antique store and the barn. So this was, you know, Smith's gas station. So entranceway here. I don't know how many of you came to the charrettes, but there were lots of options that were proposed. So this was a combination of everybody saying, you know, I like this, I like that, and then they combined it together. So I'm going to go through each one of them. So 711, 713, then the entrance. If you look over there, go through each one. Okay, so as you come in, I don't know if you saw, I'm sorry about this. Right here, the circular trellis with the flag. That is over here. Oh, so that's going to be the center. Sorry. Okay, so the centerpiece is going to be a round circular trellis where the four walkways come together in the middle. The way that the funding is working, I'll hand these out. So the goal is to raise 1.2 million. We're already over 600,000. That is raised, the less, eventually the proposal will be to sell it back to the town. So the more private funds that get raised, so the less that price happens. I mean, it would be great for the town to eventually own it, but with no risk, have everything cleaned and just ready to go.
1.2 million includes the cleanup,
1.2 includes the cleanup.
proposed cleanup.
Right, and, okay, so then the pieces are, okay, so the pieces are, can I share this with you? The pieces are the trellis center, and each one of these items has giving prices. People can donate as much or as little as you want. We would love to see full participation from Bolton residents, you know, as much as people can afford. You know, we're not asking, you know, people to, you know, be out on the streets, but anything over $2,500, your name will be on the welcome donor wall. So each one of these items has some giving components. So one is the trellis and the flagpole. Then in the back here, which is very interesting, the gentleman who was very active in the whole effort several years ago, Robert Held,
Right,
passed away.
right.
So this is an amphitheater that they're going to name the Robert Held Amphitheater.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And then with a little area that in the winter will be iced over and become a skating rink.
Is there, I can't see, is there like stands or something there? Or
That is granite in the back. That's going to be
3 or 4 rows or something?
rows, which are also another giving opportunity for the benches in the back. Over here is going to be what we're calling the community pavilion dedicated to Bolton seniors. It will be, I hope I got the right words, ADA compliant, but just in that area. The whole park, the whole town common's not going to be ADA compliant.
What's the ADA? Disabled?
American Disability.
But I believe it was, I don't think the whole park can be ADA, but certainly this one area and access to it's going to be ADA. So that's the pavilion, which is right over here. And then the natural playground area, which is pretty nice. They're going to try to use as much natural components as possible to build that. Let's get the, so here's Main Street, here's the entrance next to Reflections, kind of goes here, a turnaround parking area, the community center, the Robert Held Amphitheater, the trellis, the flag, and and then a row of trees. I'm calling that, I think, Orchard Row. So there's lots of giving opportunities. We're very flexible. We're working with people, not looking for donations all at once. That would be great, but you can do it over a 2.5-year period. Anyway, I would welcome you to at least look at it, think about it. If you have friends, relatives, businesses. You know, we've had, as I said, a lot of success, so it's over $600,000 worth of funding so
Which is
far.
great, that's
Do
50% of the goal.
do you have a list of what businesses donated already, so we're not re-asking the same people?
There's no businesses, well, there are a couple key businesses, but just actually 2 businesses. Everybody else has been private families.
Okay. What are the 2?
Well, if he doesn't mind me saying, does he mind?
No,
But the
we've
insurance.
agreed to do it.
And
So we won't ask you again.
Ray Brennan.
Can you double it up?
Telling me that on camera?
Come on.
And the International was extremely generous, and they donated the entire event 2 Fridays
Yeah,
ago.
which is great. They've always
So
been
Dan
very
was
generous, though.
unbelievably generous. So thank you, International. That was really, really great.
How much
So,
parking is there?
not a lot. It's going to be about 32 spaces.
So that's not a lot if you're having events there and things, so that means
Yeah.
this whole 117 issue is a problem. We don't have
For everyday use, it's fine, but
It's going to be, you know, people are hoping that at least you could park at Memorial.
yeah.
You know, I mean, we're a small town, you know, there's no way that we could possibly put 100 parking.
How many are at the Stowe Park? Because it looks like it's pretty similar to the Stowe one.
Yeah, I don't know how many are at the Stowe, yeah.
I bet you it's
Just
just.
the one where I saw you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
Nice.
amount, it's like 100.
Yeah, I would say it's between the,
Because there's 3 rows.
Right,
There's a group of
exactly.
2 rows and
Well,
a...
they're not on Main Street, I mean.
right.
Yeah.
No, they have some advantages that we don't have.
Well, we gotta get, you know, let's have that problem.
I
Push
agree.
things in the
Yeah.
right
For everyday
And
use,
there's
32
ample
is
parking if you're
fine.
willing to
Well, maybe
walk.
we can bike there.
Right, I mean, there's
It's-
Memorial Field has great parking there, you
Yeah.
can park down at the school if you had to walk up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's kind of pretty accessible. It's
Yeah,
not
it
in the
really
middle of
is.
nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the school too.
Right,
Yeah.
you can just walk up the sidewalk.
Well, the Holton building too.
Right.
So we're really hoping, you know,
Yeah, I
this
think
is
that's
successful.
terrific.
And,
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, we're planning on that it's successful. So the upcoming, there's going to be a 5K event that's going to be over again, that we're going to try to tie in businesses. They're going to use the existing group of people that did the 5K event, that did the RFK, and then when the White family got the tragedy
Yeah,
in the
that's
marathon.
terrific. Kristen Zeno and her crew.
Chris, the same,
Wow, awesome.
so the same group, especially Kristen Gaynor and her mom, it's actually the lamp, our lamp lady.
Right.
They're gonna help run it. We're gonna use it, it's not gonna be the same name, but it's the same group of people. And I believe they've already plotted out the route to start at Shartner Farms. So it's slightly different. And it would be great to get Rich Pelletier tied in at the winery. Possibly, somebody was mentioning,
Is the goal to end it there?
so somebody was
I'm sure it
mentioning,
goes down Wattaquatic Hill Road.
Yeah, let's not go up.
so they were mentioning at
The
the,
goal will be for people to finish that.
they were mentioning at the event the other night that all the 5Ks that are held in Clinton all end at a bar. So that would be really great.
Why not?
We will talk to Rich Pelletier to see, you know, if they would be willing at the brewery. That would be kind of interesting. So that has not been finalized, ending at the winery, but, you know, that would be.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
I'm going to move this other 11 and 713 up to talk about this. This is a real opportunity for the Economic Development Committee to work with the planning board and our town planner to figure out the zoning here of 711 and 713 Main Street, which is these 3 structures. Okay. So I guess I'm officially going on the record here, on TV.
2
These,
people.
all 2 of you that are watching it at home will be lucky. So,
One of them, Zachary, my son. Daddy, you're on TV.
I mean, this is an interesting topic for Bolton zoning because we have a lot of pre-existing, non-conforming zoning issues. The Smith property was part of that. Remember, they were the mobile station, and then they left it abandoned for several years, and then it reverted back to residential. So there's some question as to the zoning here with these 3 structures. We're going to get to the bottom of it
Yes.
as to exactly what the zoning is. There's a potential misunderstanding as to what the zoning is. We see it as a real opportunity if this could eventually be developed into something, maybe a coffee shop, maybe an art store or something. But we really have to understand, how do I get that? Yeah, these 3 properties.
Did we ever find out if they're separate lots or they're all the same lot?
That's one lot with
It's
3
one
buildings
lot
on
with 3
it.
buildings.
One lot with 3 buildings?
Yeah.
Even though it's 713, even though it says 711 and
713,
713.
they have 2 different addresses, and I think that stems from fire department meeting too.
So if it's one lot and there's still an active business, then I would say that the other 2 buildings aren't, you know.
Well, that's sort of the conflict of opinions right now, is whether or not it applies, the abandonment applies to the space or to the property, and that's what we need to
I would say to the
nail.
property.
Okay, so we're going to table this discussion because this is exactly what the disagreement is. And I think we need to, the proverbial we, as a town,
Right.
we really have to make sure all the parties are on the same page as to exactly what that zoning is. Because there's some discrepancy between the owner and some other people in town, and we really want to get to the bottom
So I
of
have a
it.
lot of experience in this in the past, because I bought a property in Lancaster and had this. Have you dug into your records and found any variances?
Variances.
Yeah, because the property I bought had no variances at the registry of deeds, but there was a variance sitting in a town folder that gave me the use of the property, believe it or not, and
They
it
do
wasn't
have-
anywhere.
Yeah, they do have a special permit from ZBA for this property. I was back in 2005 to alter the pre-existing non-conforming structure.
Okay.
So slightly different than.
What was it
talks about
before
the
then,
use.
though? Because it was used as a store.
It was an antique store.
In the old days. So just an example is, like, my property was the Cully Ranch. It was 70 acres of property. My 2 or whatever, 3 acres was carved out of the 70 acres, which had, from 1965, a variance from the town that allowed you to do just about anything on a property. I could build a high-rise, okay? And that is what allowed me to reopen my business on the property. Until that point, I was getting denied.
So the major misunderstanding here is this whole abandonment issue that we have in town. So there's something, correct me if I'm wrong, something that says that if this is pre-existing non-conforming, that the structure is being used as a retail establishment. And then the
2
retail
years.
establishment leaves and the property becomes abandoned for more than 2 years. The zoning goes back to what it is officially zoned as, which is residential.
Okay.
The question on the property now is, does this abandonment apply to the whole entire property, or is each structure individually?
Not in Lancaster, was it?
I mean, I don't see how that's possible, because you can't have one lot that's one part residential, one part
Yeah,
limited
it's
business.
mixed.
I think a good property attorney will
So,
be able to fix that.
so,
Yeah,
So it's
We're gonna-
definitely one lot, right?
It's one lot.
Yeah, if it's one lot, yeah, I'm with him exactly. You
okay,
can't-
so, I mean, the owner
Yeah.
would love you right now, because
Yeah.
that's exactly what how the owner feels.
Well,
How-
even if you look at, like, so the barn bylaw that just passed, I mean, that's like a separate building on, you know, and you're allowed to use that as a business, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's going to be great, because
Right.
we're going to come to the bottom of it, and we're going to get a very clear understanding that everybody is on the same page. And then we can discuss whether it is worth to eventually, down the road, actually zone this area correctly.
so who's the action on, ZBA?
See,
Are they meeting about it?
Well, we, I mean,
Get on
haven't
their
requested
agenda.
it yet, but.
we're going to initiate a meeting
Yeah.
to get these parties together and get an official ruling that everyone's on the same page as far as what this property is. And then I think the next step is to possibly, maybe, potentially rezone this area.
Yeah, you might, I mean, if it stands that you can go on, it might even be better not to do that.
It's been abandoned, by the way. What's abandoned?
The antique store.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that, well,
for years.
that thing is a...
And the barn.
Right.
Nothing's been.
So, not to digress in this conversation, but one of the issues that I thought was a problem with this property was parking. So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And I'm all for revitalizing it, don't get me wrong. But how ultimately does that become solved? Because we just talked about the limited parking at the park. If that gets turned back to the town of Bolton, then that becomes the town of Bolton's. I think it's great to revitalize the area, but how are they going to solve that problem?
Well, I think right now, there was some discussion on the side coming into, the driveway coming in, potentially leasing some space on the property of the common to this property.
Because now I just want to be the fly in the ointment, because the building across the way also has a parking issue. They have finite parking, so then you get into a situation in which, how come they get the opportunity to lease parking spaces and we don't? And again, this is a conversation that's down the road a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
these are things that are gonna, as we delve into this,
I know that
these are gonna be challenges.
The owner of the Crackle Barrel would be very interested in
Sure.
potentially, maybe rezoning,
Right.
because they also have a pre-existing lot as well. So it would be nice to ensure that if these people wanted to sell, that these lots would stay the ability
Sure.
to go.
Yeah.
So, as I said, I really would like to have this problem to really
Sure.
think about. I think we have to put a stake in the ground. There's no way that we can have 100 spaces of parking in the common right now. Maybe down the road.
Can I throw another fly in the ointment?
Sure.
The whole turnover of 117 will eliminate 100% parking on 117.
I don't think we've ever envisioned parking on 117.
Well, there is now. And they use it, the Cracker Barrel uses it right in front of their thing for their clients to come in and park. You see cars all weekend parking there. So that's a big, that's a big issue. There are other people on 117 who use 117 parking, and having the 117 parking helps these businesses too.
Right, it's a viability issue, right?
So
I think
that's-
that was one of the challenges of keeping, I think that the location's probably good. I think that the challenge that they had, because I know they approached us about accessing our parking off hours. Okay, great, but we have a dentist who works off hours, so again, this is down the road. We just have to be cognizant of all these challenges.
Well, I think this is a great discussion for our town planner.
Sure.
And as a whole, we own this.
Yep.
We're part of this town. We're part of the solution. So, as, really working, I don't know, if we don't think about it,
Yeah, no, I
it'll
think
never
it's a great
happen.
idea, Arlene. I think that, revitalizing those 3 properties, 3 structures, or redefine it, I think it's super. I think that there's a number of logistical issues, and I think parking was the #1 challenge, if I'm not mistaken.
What's on, so special permit for a business, what's the required parking again? I forget, it's like...
It's funny how it's written in our bylaws. It's based on square footage
Right.
of the.
But it's the
So many
desired
spaces
parking
for-
versus required parking in this case. That's
Well,
the
but to get a
problem.
special permit, you have to have the required amount of parking, right?
Well, they would be going for ZBA anyway, so they could
So they
always
can-
look to get a reduction in
Yep.
the required number of parking. But that really wouldn't even come into play.
Well, even if it was
I mean, if they had a vibrant coffee shop, for example, you can't fit 3 cars there. So then you have to either have people that go up to the memorial field and then walk down, which
Now you got
didn't
people
seem
crossing.
viable at the time, or they're gonna access the parking at this common, which then
Well-
becomes, who else has the ability to do that?
Maybe, I've never really, I don't own this property,
Mhm.
715, 711, 713. I haven't made an offer on the property. I haven't really even thought about it. I certainly wouldn't make an offer on it the way it's zoned today. So I would like it zoned differently. And then I think, why can't those people request parking? Some way that they could actually get parking on their property? No, I think right now the town has never even entertained that discussion. Why can't that be entertained? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good argument. Again, I just, going back to the challenges that they had, if my memory serves me right, was they didn't have enough parking.
Yeah.
She was pretty vocal at the 117 meeting too, that they're going to cut into her
Right.
land and try to take like half of her front yard for, half of her
Right.
for the turning lane.
Erica, why, so Clinton Savings Bank had to come before the planning board, so if a new business was gonna move in there,
Because it would be considered a pre-existing non-conforming use, so that doesn't fall under planning board, that falls under ZBA. So, because they're in the residential district, it's a grandfathered use.
I see.
Yeah, so I want to at least look at the zoning issue on this property, because I feel that right now, I don't think she has any intention, she, the owner, has any intention on developing this property any further than it is developed. There's been a couple people that have come by to take a look at it, and I will go on the record right now and say that the price that she was, that had it on sale when it was listed was too expensive for a developer to take it on and do the types of renovation that would be necessary to make it into either a thing vibrant. So when I heard this, I said, well, I think we should at least understand the zoning, because if there's any goal right now to ever get it, any kind of business in, I think we have to secure that zoning on the property.
Would you be able to take down the 3 buildings and build one step back?
That opens up a whole nother can of worms.
Well, I know that, but.
That was a historic
That
building.
again would go through ZBA and.
But definitely, if you don't, I had somebody come up to me when they heard that I was involved in the commons, and, oh, that'd be great to move that antique house and put it as like the welcome house on the common. I said,
Sure.
Great idea. But not cheap. But I think we have to understand the zoning.
Right.
We were gonna try to do it for this town meeting, but I feel everyone's not on the same page here, and it would have to be a
Citizens
citizen petition.
It would definitely be way too fast without enough details, and
Yeah.
be too much pushback.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna target something, maybe October, special town meeting, if there is
Well-
one, is when you would look to target that, or next May,
Yeah,
if there's not a special town.
I mean,
so.
I think if there's not a rush, we could just do it next year.
Yeah,
Get
and I
all the
say, like,
ducks
take
in a
our
row
time.
and- Yeah,
figure it out.
exactly.
Okay, so,
So what about the question of spot zoning, like if you were to
so,
That came up.
because that's why the Smith's property,
so we
Couldn't
would
be done.
include possibly the Cracker Barrel on the zoning, because they are also a pre-existing non-conforming lot. The owner is interested in changing the zoning upon us asking them. They said that they would be interested. So we would address the Cracker Barrel and those 3 structures.
would you have to get rid of the apartments above?
They would become the pre-existing non-conforming use at that point.
So what
If
is
the
spot zoning? I'm
approved.
sorry, I'm not familiar with that.
Just like picking like one lot and saying.
One lot.
So you identify properties that you want to put into
You
this?
can't spot
You
zone.
can't spot zone.
You can't, you could be accused of it.
Oh, I got it,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
You did it for this person, but you didn't do it for the
Got
one
it,
across the
got it.
street.
Now I understand.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, you're kind
thank
of like
you.
picking
Yeah.
and choosing.
Yeah, right, which makes sense, okay, yeah.
So it's an interesting discussion,
Yeah.
I believe, especially if you have any, if, I'm not saying that that's the vision.
What is your property up? A little ways up.
That's a good question, I'm
It's
thinking.
residential.
Yours is also pre-existing.
Yeah.
This is residential.
So that would be another one that should
Yeah.
I asked,
You can-
I asked that owner.
Yeah, because and then we have the 2-family next door, then that.
Well, if you look at the
that
assessor's
gray barn
map,
next to that.
It's all resident, the only thing that's not residential is on 626, right? And stuff along 495, and Slater's and the auction house, and then, what about the post office area and stuff that?
That might be limited, I'd have to check. That might be
Yeah,
limited.
I'm not sure about
business.
that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what?
No, that's definitely either business or limited business. I just
Yeah,
don't
across
remember
from the
which
school,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's it, I mean, everything.
Can't read that map, my eyes are too bad.
I can see colors.
Yeah,
There's
that's
a big
it
blue
right there.
color, what's the big blue
Those
color?
the brown ones is limited business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That was redone, right?
Well, that's, that was what I drew, yeah.
Is that the blue? The blue is now the.
Just
So
take out all
blue
the
is
details.
limited business.
Okay.
And then this light beige color is business.
Okay, yeah, so what we're talking about is not even colored.
Right, no, it's all
Right,
residential.
Residential or pre-existing non-conforming because it already had,
I mean,
it's worth a discussion.
I gotta imagine, trying to rezone it is gonna be huge pushback by Main Street residents, huge.
Well, and I mean, you would like to get a feeling from the Joyce family, what their intention is, how she and her husband would like to pursue developing that property, if they're gonna develop it.
It would be perfect if you didn't have to rezone it and, I know that they would wanna sell it, if they could just
If
go
we-
for the business right now,
Well, if the zoning board
Renovate and-
came out and said that those 3 properties could be retail or some sort of commercial, we would be fine with it. But right now, we did get an opinion that said that it was not okay to
Yeah.
put commercial in there, right?
That's my opinion.
Right,
Why
right.
is
So-
why is that your opinion?
Well, just typically that's how zoning works. It's more, the use is related
Per structure?
to the space. I mean, if you look at the special permit that they received back in 2005, ZBA was very detailed in, okay, this square footage is gonna be used for retail. The
Oh.
apartment above is for residential. The
So they
barn
didn't
has
just say
this
a-
much
they
square
didn't just say
footage
a lot.
for retail. No, it's
Go on.
very
The one
specific.
the barn has,
So much square footage for retail, and then the old post office antique store also has so much square footage for retail. So that, to me, I may be inferring, but that's very
I didn't
specific.
realize that.
And it was all retail that they were,
Except for the apartment
Except for the
above on
apartment.
713.
but the question, the
Yeah.
real issue is that nothing has been in there and it's been quote-unquote abandoned. So does that revert those structures back to residential? And we're gonna come down, we're gonna get a.
We all need to be on board.
Yes, we all need to get on board.
Same. And at the end of the day, it's really the ZBA's decision, not mine, not the building inspector. It's ZBA that needs to weigh in.
And at the town common event was really interesting because there were a lot of people that were there and we definitely were discussing this and there were a lot of people that remembered a lot of meetings. So there's a lot of different takes on people's view about. So-
Exactly, because what was said in the meetings might be different from, or not. What's in the special permit might not be as detailed as what was discussed during the meetings, and I've only been here a year, so there might be things that I don't know.
So we're gonna come,
So-
we're gonna get to the bottom of it. Okay, and then going back, the welcome sign status.
Yes.
I'm very excited about this.
So we went before Board of Selectmen a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and they approved it, which is great. And we also did get the new cost estimate from Sign Logic on the price. I have that information here. So I believe everyone saw the design last time, correct? So, and actually, Helene, Rich Pelletier, and I went out and we kind of measured. Do I have it in here?
I
Let's
think I
see.
have the,
We measured the.
So they said that red's gonna be more of like a maroon, right?
well, we have to get the actual
Burgundy.
color.
I think we also need to kind of finalize the design.
Yeah. Actually, I have your,
oh my God.
So we did, we took the measurements that he gave us and we went out and made sure that they would fit at those locations. And they do.
DPW weigh in on these locations yet at all?
Well, they did weigh in about the posts, that they need to be breakaway posts, but when we were out there, I think the intention at the one at Sugar Road,
There's your answer right there, breakaway posts.
well, we're even thinking too, the one at Sugar Road, we put it behind the stone wall.
Yeah, it seems like.
And that's
So
not an
especially if we have
issue.
a winter like this one, they
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
get the snow off the road.
Because this is, you can tell, this is where they're piling
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
the snow.
You really
Yeah,
don't,
when we were there.
yeah,
Maybe
you don't really
coming out
want
of
to
the
do
I'd
that.
rather have it go a little higher over the sign wall
Exactly.
and have the wall there for the guy to hit.
Right.
First, you know? When they come to push with a loader, the guy with a loader hopefully will be nice enough to not take our sign out and destroy it.
This one on the other side seemed to be pretty safe because
Yeah.
it was kind of.
So
like-
this one is coming off of, the highway's coming off this way, so this is right by that Kane property?
Yes.
Right, right.
Okay, so, again, just for my edification, isn't that if they ever develop the Kane property, I know the curb cut is a little further down, but it wasn't their proposal that the entrance would come right off of where?
Oh, really? I'm not aware.
Well,
I'm just, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not gonna
Well,
happen
they're
tomorrow.
gonna have to
Yeah.
move this signal.
No, there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that
Signal
have to
box.
happen, so
Well,
maybe
maybe
the
then
sign
they
is
would
no
allow
big
us to put
deal.
that sign on their property.
Yeah, they would have to.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I think, again,
Yeah.
that's. more
So,
than
the gentleman at Sign Logic went away on vacation, right? So
Yes,
we're
I
waiting-
know.
So we're
He
waiting for
should
him to
be
come back.
I think
He's
he's
back.
back this week.
Oh, he's back?
Yeah.
Yes, I talked to him, he's doing some stuff for me.
Okay, great.
So,
So
So
we're gonna
we're-
do a follow-up meeting.
Yeah.
So that we can finalize the design, the
Yeah.
costing. But at this point, you know, I think the price is right in the range where we
It's gonna
anticipated
be
it to
under
be.
$10,000.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
For both?
Yeah.
This is confusing because it shows different options. So
Oh,
the total
okay,
amount
sure.
isn't the actual total
Right.
amount. It's
But
gonna be,
this is
it's gonna be
above,
less
right?
than that.
Yeah, no, actually, that $11,000 is with every option. It's
Yeah.
really misleading. So it would definitely be under 10,
Yeah, that's good,
Yeah.
because we were getting, what, 25, 30,
Right.
yeah.
wayfinding, 250,000?
Okay, so we will keep you up to date on the events of that. Now, the April 29th event, well, first of all, I haven't heard from Melissa as to RSVPs. I haven't, my husband has a certificate, and I haven't seen anything come in the mail yet. I don't know if anyone's received.
I don't know if you remember or not, but we had a discussion about that, and I actually took his
Oh, my husband.
Year.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect, okay, good. That's
If I
good.
need to add him back, I will.
No,
but
no,
I
no,
thought the
no.
intention was to take him off. so
Okay,
I
great.
did.
So I wonder if any businesses,
I ha-
do you know if you've received an invitation, Lisa? Have you? It would have been a little
Yeah, I did.
postcard?
I don't know that I've seen it, but I've seen it either. We
Now, are
wanted it
you
been
an
mailed
official
to.
Bolton business?
I
well, our
didn't,
PO box is.
Oh, so it would have been mailed to our
Oh,
Bolton
then-
office.
I didn't include you on the master business
didn't.
list, but I can, if you'd like to be on it, I'll put you
You
on
might
it.
want to put us on it, because our PO box is in Bolton.
Yeah, we probably
We
should.
started in Bolton.
So even though you don't pay taxes, but you're still a Bolton resident and you're
Yeah.
pretty active in the community.
Well, we do,
so-
because our excise taxes are all in Bolton, still,
So you do.
instead of giving that to Lancaster.
Thank
So, well, the cars are parked in my yard, so, figure.
Okay, that'll be great. So, we don't know the event at the extent, but we did have a little setback by that wonderful lady who
Yeah,
came to give our
yes.
presentation.
It's a bummer, she's
Yeah.
pretty knowledgeable.
So,
But we'll find someone else that's equally knowledgeable. We're working on that.
we sent the invitation to Pete.
Paul Matthews, from the 495 Metro West
Yeah,
Partnership.
I know Paul, he's a good guy.
Yeah,
He's
so he
a
might.
very knowledgeable guy.
I haven't
He
heard
did.
back from him yet. I'm gonna
Very
have to
good
give him a
choice.
call. But we'll see.
Do me a favor, if you don't hear back from him, let me know, because the gentleman I know who's on the MEDC with me does it very well. So I would be
Okay.
more than
That'd
happy
be
to
great.
plug in.
Okay, and Don Lowe knows him very well as well
Yeah,
too,
sure.
so Don can always make.
Yeah, but he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's very nice. I've met him, yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty much going on track. We just have to secure our guest speaker. But that's all right. We're gonna do
We're gonna
that.
do it.
Okay.
Where are people supposed to RSVP for her RSVP?
Well, it says on there to send the email to Melissa with Melissa's address.
Okay.
So I need to check in with her as to how many have,
I think she gave us like a chart last year or something.
yeah. I'll definitely check in with her. Okay, the next thing is the Clinton Savings Bank process review. I find that this is fairly interesting.
Yeah, so I provided the timeline for the permitting process for Clinton Savings Bank, basically all the boards that they had to meet with. And actually, I found that the overall permitting process was somewhat efficient. I think that the hardest part was having to meet the 6-month demolition delay. They started the process back in December 2013, so that meant they really couldn't move forward with any other applications until June of 2014. But once, June 2014 came, their permitting process basically lasted from June to October. And unfortunately, with that property and the historical significance of that structure, they were required to basically meet with every board in Bolton. So that made it challenging for them. So they met with historical, they met with Board of Health, Conservation, Design Review Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, again, pre-existing non-conforming law and structure, Planning Board, and Board of Selectmen. So if you look at the spreadsheet, generally speaking, most of the meetings only lasted one meeting. Most of the hearings were not continued. They were continued for Conservation, Design Review Board, not Zoning Board of Appeals, and Planning Board. So those three boards.
So the Conservation Commission came back twice, the Design Review Board came back twice, and the Planning Board came back twice.
Yes. So Zoning Board of Appeals, they voted, same with Board of Selectmen, Historical, Board of Health. So overall, I think it was pretty streamlined. I think it was just the fact that they had to meet with so many boards that's what was time consuming.
And from their perspective, they rose the question in September of 2013. So even though they technically met a demolition delay, they're thinking, well, we've started this in September 2013, and it really took a whole year for us.
That's true.
So from their perspective...
Because they did do a consultation with Planning Board back in September.
So is that what triggered Historical Commission? Like what triggered them?
What triggers Historical is when an applicant goes before, well, not before, but when they submit a demolition application. So Historical weighs in on that. And if the structure is older than 75 years old, then they need to make a determination whether it's historically significant. They have to hold a hearing, and then they decide whether or not the 6-month delay.
Okay, so really on here, there's really a submission of the demolition.
And I tried to capture that. I didn't capture it in the first page, but if you look at the spreadsheet, I tried to figure out what the application submittal dates were.
Yeah.
So that also plays into
This is kind of the 11/7.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's really where it started. So really it took from 11/7, 2013 officially, because they did do kind of a behind the scenes kind of smart on their part, and then took to
and then Planning Board was the last approval, and that was in October of 2014.
okay, so
So a little over, well, almost a year.
okay, so that's really the time frame.
So just from my standpoint, so the demolition, it's up to 6 months, or it's a mandatory 6 months?
It's up to 6 months.
Okay, that's
so,
what I thought you said, which makes sense. Okay.
But they did that on the common as well.
Sure, which makes perfect sense, but at least it's not we have to go through, you can't do anything for 6 months. Once they determine that if it's not historically significant, then you can accelerate that.
I think if you've proven to the Historical Commission that there are no other options to save the building, and if the Historical Commission agrees with you, then I think they can say, okay, delay's over, continue with your application.
And so what they did by these dates, they really didn't, they waited for...
They just waited it out.
Waited it out.
Yeah.
Knowing that at the end of the 6 months, it wasn't going to matter, so
Right.
rather than fight it, just
Right.
go. Which is probably smart, because then they ain't creating bad blood.
Yeah, right,
So-
or do stuff that was not gonna matter anyway, because...
Right.
And then just for the EDC's knowledge as to why, I'm involved with both design review and planning board. So I knew the reasons why those 2 hearings were continued, so I included the reasons in this packet so that EDC can kind of understand where the boards were at the time.
So the design review,
So if you look at design review, it's very detailed. It has a lot to do with the building design, the signs, the windows, the heating system. I mean, they get pretty detailed and.
So as we were discussing, they probably felt, they went through all this at the design review board. What more possibly could the planning board say to us?
And I'm sure that's
Right, I know, so that's really interesting. This is a lot to come out of the design review board. How, It's kind of a
It's really
rhetorical
detailed.
question.
Well, the good thing about it is though that like, the planning board didn't have to go through all those iterations. I mean, the planning board, I mean, I remember like, some of them, maybe like the lighting. I mean, there were questions that needed to be answered in the design, so.
So you could say, maybe, I don't know, maybe this was, is this too much? I'm just throwing that out. I don't know, I haven't really read the details, but, how much does design review board?
I can tell you that when we did a building down in Medway, this is about what we had to go through.
The details?
Yeah. I mean, it got this detailed. I mean, I don't have the exact list committed to memory, but when I'm looking through this, it's pretty standard.
If you look at our bylaws, I mean, these are the items that they have to hit. We need to see material, examples of the materials that they're gonna be using for the building. We need to look at windows, we need to look at light fixtures. I mean, it's detailed.
It's very detailed.
If that's something that the town didn't wanna do, then it shouldn't, then that's a bylaw change. But, I mean, the design review board is doing their job in reviewing these things. I don't think they're going above and beyond what our
And
bylaw calls.
the best thing will be, this is really one of the first businesses to go through the design review board.
Yes.
When that building gets built and everybody passes by and thinks it's awesome looking, I
Trusted in them.
think people are gonna feel good about it because it's really gonna add to the good feeling of the town.
And like the design review board is an extension of the planning board. I don't think really we question the design review board's
No.
things. We just question things that, like Jonathan's big thing is lighting. And that was one of the
Yeah.
things that he asked him to come back with. right? So-
And the only critique I kind of came out of this, and I talked to Helene about this before, was I do think that at the initial planning board meeting, at the end of that, I think the applicant walked away kind of confused on what the outstanding items were. So if we could improve anywhere, I think it's making sure that the applicant fully understands when they walk out of the hearing what it is that they need to do to get that hearing closed. I don't know, I get the sense that they were a little confused.
I mean, this is the feeling I get of what we discussed, but maybe
Do people
we just didn't
get-
give an action item.
So when people leave the planning board, do the individual people the planning board get an email the next day, thanks for coming to planning board, here are the actions?
No, and I think that's a great idea, actually, and I would be happy to do that.
Yeah.
On behalf of the board.
Because everybody would leave, talk about having the minutes.
Yeah,
No misunderstanding.
I think that's a great idea.
But when I look at this list, I think it's a combination of practical suggestions and just aesthetics. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't see
the
anything
practical
in
one
there.
is leave an opening in the fence so people can access
So
the.
it was really, it was really
That's
sort of,
reasonable.
That was a really good idea,
Yeah,
actually,
practical and
because
reasonable.
that field has an enormous problem with parking.
Right, and they just
People
want
have to
people to
park
be able to walk through.
and so they submitted the application and they chose to wait for the 6-month period, so 6 months passed. And then it was really from July, right, till October
Yep.
was the real process.
No large trees, or is that there are no large trees? What do you think?
So that would be great, if we could take out of this that what
Yeah,
comes
that's
out
a
like
good
the
question. That's
planning
how it's
board,
thinking.
everybody who
Telling
leaves
you
says,
don't put
oh,
large
here are your
trees
action
there.
items.
So
Thank you.
there are no-
That's
I think
against-
that and
I would think they would want
like
large
Rosemary
trees.
Yeah.
recommended that,
Yes.
pre-application.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and it
There
looks
was
like-
recommended adding.
Well, I had
So
an
there's
internal
no
one,
trees
but
there,
not
so
with the
it's-
applicant.
yeah, right now the
Yeah.
spot is clear.
Yeah, so they want large trees.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so just
is
to,
nice.
Yep.
just bring it back, so it looks like Clinton Savings Bank initially really did a good thing. They met.
They were an excellent applicant. I mean, they were very assertive, and they followed up with me constantly, which made my job really easy.
So to take Rosemary's suggestion about potentially getting all the boards together at once when
I
an
think the
applicant comes
departments,
in,
yeah.
that would be helpful, and to leave the planning board with specific items.
All boards.
All boards.
Making sure that the applicant understands what the, outstanding items
See, the
are.
first one was just like a
Yeah,
pre-meeting.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like,
right back in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. And then our last item is really more of a discussion, and this is per the Westford Economic Development Committee, you found this. It's really, what should the role of the EDC be with a liaison to businesses for permit approval processes. And it looks like Westford, let me see, make sure that I can paraphrase this correctly, pretty much assigned a person on the EDC to almost champion a business or to help them through the process of, especially for the people that didn't have a lot of money and lawyers and stuff like that, to kind of help them, almost kind of my relationship with Bruce a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of helping him kind of understand that process, helping him write some
With
things
the liquor
up.
license and.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, what's your thought?
I think that's to have.
So maybe we should
A
start thinking
liaison.
about this for the next project that's gonna be coming forward soon. That's the Hood Realty property next to Country Covered. They're gonna be developing that very soon. The lawyer had called me like a week or two ago saying that they're getting ready to make a submission, so.
And that pre-meeting you were saying might not even need to be without, it might even just a member of the EDC, you know? Just going over, this is typically what happens and.
Well, I think it's pretty now, the only reason why I think that meeting would be essential is that if, like, let's say the Board of Health has an issue of that specific property, they could say it right there.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think
true.
a member of the EDC would be that knowledgeable.
Yeah, you're right.
But it also means, you know, time, you know, people, you know, spending time championing a business, you know, so you know, you wouldn't want to commit to that.
Did you look at the other property by, the other people who were doing the assisted living? Have you?
There, but I looked at that timeline.
Yeah.
No, but that's a very different project.
I was gonna
would have
say-
to as well. I mean, the planning board hearing for that project was it continued numerous times.
Yeah, that's
I would
what
say
I thought.
closer to probably 8. I'm not sure. Because they started in July of 2014. They were not given their permit until January of 2015.
I feel like we met with them every single week, or every time.
But you have to also understand the applicant on that project was nowhere near as assertive as Clinton Savings Bank. We did request changes that we never received. It would be months before we would get something. So in those cases, it is what it is. I mean, they have to also.
When we were dealing with the HUD stuff, we were dealing with Bolton Manor,
Right.
so that was slowing things down, but.
That's true.
But I mean, my general feel on the planning board was that Clinton Savings Bank, besides them getting upset about like specifics like lighting and stuff like that, it went pretty smoothly. But Condyne, that was like, I could see them visibly getting frustrated.
So
Like
maybe
they
that's-
actually
They
stayed.
Yeah,
seemed
that's
very
true.
frustrated.
They actually
Yeah.
stopped coming at one point and
They
just started.
did.
They just kept sending. What was his name? The engineer.
And even because he lives on the Cape, so I understood why he didn't always come to the hearings.
Yeah.
But maybe that's another project we take a look at
Yeah.
and try to maybe understand from their perspective what was
Yeah.
frustrating about
Yeah.
that.
It was a more complex, special permit too.
It
So,
was.
Clinton Savings.
But just going back to Helene's question, so I have kind of conflicting thoughts on it, because I agree, I think the Westford model, in theory, sounds good, and then I'm thinking, okay, now let's talk about this in practice. I think that having the ability to have the pre-meeting to kind of get everybody on the same page with you is great, because you understand the process as well as anybody. I think also having follow-up emails so that there isn't any ambiguity in
Right.
what is expected after each meeting, I think those are 2 huge steps.
I think that's big.
My fear with an individual from the EDC is, one, we don't have kind of the authority to say, yeah, we can, and 2, they may get frustrated at us, right? And say, you know, well, geez, you know, Helene, you know, I was counting on you to. I'm not really sure where our role would be exactly. I think we would try to play a positive role by saying we want to try to be as welcoming as possible. But when you insert yourself too deep, and then, because there are reasons we have boards. Sometimes people have to be told no. They don't want to hear it, but they have to be told no. And so if we insert ourselves too deep into that process, then where are we then kind of saying, well, geez, we're going to help shepherd this for you, when in fact, that's not our job.
And
That's a good point.
do we
And
want to
that
shepherd
scares me.
everybody?
Right,
It-
you know, because if someone comes along and says, hey, Helene, I heard you're, you know everybody, and oh, this is perfect, let's talk to Helene, and then all of a sudden, they're putting you in a position
Yeah.
where, and then this doesn't work out, well, Helene, come on, you
Yeah.
told me that, and it's like, whoa, wait a second, you know, so I think that, I would like to see us take those first 2 steps, which would be to encourage a pre-meeting, and then to really communicate effectively with what the exact steps are and see how that plays out.
Yeah.
But
And then just be available for questions,
Right.
or if we can go drive a particular issue, or.
Right,
you know,
I mean, if we
some-
can be, a sounding board, I don't
Yeah.
mind being a sounding board, I just don't wanna be the
Responsible.
ombudsman between,
Makes
a
sense.
property developer and a town board, that's not
Yeah.
my job.
It would be a very interesting.
I don't think we have time to do that either.
Yeah, and I don't have
understand
the skills, I don't wanna do
differences
that.
between Condyne and Clinton Savings Bank. Even though they are incredibly different, there must be some similarities. And you already pointed out some reasons why it could be elongating their process, and some falls on the business. It's not always going to be. Like, I'm thrilled, when you look at that, you're like, well, Clinton Savings Bank did everything in their power to keep up the process. They came back, it might have been frustrating, but it looks like as soon as they got an action item, they came back with something. That's great.
And we all know that there are projects in which people beg for forgiveness before they get granted permission. And I don't think it's fair to anybody in this group to be, to align ourselves in a
Hold you
way.
accountable for that.
And then the person's like, yeah, I did it, can you help me to get this shit? No, we can't do that. You should have asked beforehand.
Yeah, I think I think this board is conceptually, should it be great for somebody to review their situation with us, and EDC could take a vote on whether we feel that that's something we should, as a group, support for whatever reason.
Sure, but I think if we can implement those first two things, really encourage
Okay, so
that.
state those again. A pre-meeting, encourage a pre-meeting.
Encourage it. Tell them,
Should be
this is
applicant
really
and
important. We can't force you to be there, but we strongly encourage.
And-
And then absolutely, we can follow up every meeting, just send a really concise, non-ambiguous email that says, okay, this is our recap from the meeting. You are responsible for X, Y, and Z. And this is your timeline.
I think that's a good idea. And it's
And
definitely
then it's in
doable.
writing.
Right.
It's in writing.
So then they don't say, oh, I didn't know.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I think I can gauge where the applicant, are they frustrated with the board? Do they feel like things are going smoothly? I probably can gauge that myself, and if I feel like there's something that's going on that they're frustrated about that possibly EDC could help out with, I certainly can be that bridge.
That's a great,
You know what I
a
mean?
conduit.
Like,
You're
yeah,
right.
like I could say, look, I can bring it to your attention and
Right.
say, I think there's something here that maybe you guys could help move forward. I don't know.
Very good. It's an exciting time.
I agree.
I mean, I go by Frank and I see that,
Oh, that's
Septic system.
terrific.
Yeah, it's,
I am just
that's what's
so
going on.
thrilled
Yeah.
with that building.
not.
I can't believe how
what I
much
told
work
you.
is doing to that.
Oh my God. It's like a-
From my email I sent
It's like a
you?
mini,
Nothing more.
it's like this major mini construction project. I mean, he's got hard hat people down there with chickens and it's.
Are there any updates from the town that we should be aware of?
We're updating our subdivision rules and regulations. Planning board is, that's probably the only
Yeah.
major thing that's going on at the moment.
And the one behind Sugar Road's gonna go through?
That one, yeah, they've already amended their comprehensive permit with ZBA, so they're looking to go to construction this spring.
Wow. And how many units?
It's 30 units.
30 units.
When is the pre-construction meeting for?
For Clinton Savings Bank.
Yeah.
Last time I talked to the applicant, they were working on their final construction drawings, and then they needed to send it to bid, so they were thinking mid-April
Do you know how far back on the property they're gonna go?
for Bolton Manor. Or are we talking about
Clinton
Clinton?
Savings.
It's basically roughly staying in the footprint of that existing,
Oh.
that's the whole idea of,
Staying in the footprint of where that house was?
yeah, they're gonna be making it bigger, but it's essentially that same,
Okay.
in that same
I
footprint.
think that's exciting right there.
I do too.
Having a new building that will really stand out, well-designed, is a huge plus.
We should, if it'd be great for this to be a real selling point on the effectiveness of the design review board and what they were able to really help the business with, especially when it starts to look great.
And I'll tell you, this project here
Awesome.
is the home run.
Yeah.
This
it
is the
really
anchor. This is the one that really, I think, will make a difference for downtown Bolton for years to come, because what was there before was awful, and what's gonna be there now is just awesome. It'll really, it's gonna be one of the focal points that's gonna encourage people to continue to move to Bolton.
Right. We'll encourage anybody to contribute, donate, if you know businesses that could help, that'd be really exciting.
So what are the action items for the business meeting? Anything besides getting a new speaker?
So basically, getting a new speaker, I mean, that's really.
That's key.
we have an
Is there anything we
email.
need to do? Just, I mean,
No,
She's
I mean, right
taking
now,
care of
I've already talked to International,
Yeah.
Maria's my planner, we're already working on the details of that, so it's not really much, and then we can decide who's gonna say what. And let me know if you plan on coming.
Oh,
I
and
don't-
I did
I
have a
can't-
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I did have a question about that. Are we looking at doing some type of PowerPoint? Because I'm happy to put something together if we want to even at least at a minimum have a slide for each person that's going to be talking with their contact information, just so that people, if they need it, they want to write it down.
Great.
I don't know, I just,
Yeah, well, I think of this, we have to wait till we get the speaker.
Right,
And it's
right.
basically gonna be, well, I'll make just a general introduction of the event. And then whoever our speaker is, Dan, it's either gonna be Dan Weedak or Paul Jordan, talk about the international, yourself,
yeah, I'll
and
introduce
then
myself.
Melissa Federhoff from the Sugar Valley Chamber of Commerce, and then Meg O'Leary is going to give an
Oh, she
update.
is?
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
That would be great if she could do that.
We're actually talking to the Bolton seniors tomorrow.
Is Frank gonna go, Patterson?
I
Would be great if he could just
sent
kind of like
him-
give us a little
I sent him an
tidbit of what he's
invite.
thinking. He's done a phenomenal job with that building.
Sent him
Does he have an idea when he's gonna be done? Has he expressed anything?
I heard it was the spring that he's looking at.
He told me that he's looking for June, but I can't tell you if that means every space occupied or just one space.
The other question is, does he have the spaces occupied, or does he need any assistance getting the space
So
occupied?
he sent out the Facebook post, which encouraged me to send him an email. Facebook post was, I've lost my contact information regarding potential people that wanted to lease the space. So I sent him an email that said, is this real? You know, do you really need help doing that? And he said, well, he's still getting more emails and contacts back. He hopes to assess the viability of the businesses and then start in June. So he himself, I think, wants to open in June. I think there's going to be something that Frank runs.
So is that just intentionally cryptic, or is he saying that he doesn't, I mean, I don't, I'm sorry, I kind of lost that point
I
there.
really don't know.
Okay. No, that's fine. I just.
I don't know, I don't know if he's,
I mean, he's been very quiet about it. He deserves tons of accolades, but if he doesn't want them, then I understand that. But boy, if he could be there just to kind of showcase
Yeah.
that property.
And I think if he needs help finding people to occupy the space, we want to make sure that the space fills right up. You know, so that is an EDC, we could definitely.
well, originally, back in the fall, he told us he had more than
He was like 80.
80
Yeah.
applicants. And then he sent this, right, and when did he post this? Was a month ago. Can you go back down? There, March 19th. He said, great news, our septic was approved and we're fully installing it this week. Unfortunately, I somehow lost all the emails of potentially interested tenants for the building. If you previously emailed me on space options, please email me again. Include your name, type of business, email, phone number. We will get back to you sometime. So I sent him a note because I knew somebody that was interested. And he said, please send me their name and we are going to review the viability of their business, how long they've been in business, blah, blah, blah.
What's the largest space he has down there?
I
Which
don't
would be
know.
okay, so we don't have a lot of details.
I can get you that. I have
Because
that.
is
I have
the
that
first
breakdown.
floor continuous now? I know that when you look through the glass, I mean, he's got it kind of walled off, so.
Yeah, I was in there and I think it's pretty open, but then again,
So open to where it used to be?
open to the, meaning that we could see all the beams
You
and everything,
can't
but that doesn't
see all the way
necessarily.
through the building, though.
No.
One
Like, I
tenant
remember
could
there
take the
being
entire
one-
first floor. He's got a partition
There-
off?
No, definitely not, because the way he's designed, he's got a front door, and he's got a...
Well, that's the
Yeah.
second floor, though.
Yeah.
If you
he's
look
got
at
a
the door to
couple
the
of
right,
spaces
that's
there.
access to the
Amazing way
second
they did
floor.
that without tearing it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he did a phenomenal job.
Phenomenal.
He has great vision, because I
I didn't see it.
tell you,
I saw dynamite in its future.
can't stick me.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it would be kind of interesting to know the largest
I
space he
can
has.
send you guys that information so that you'll know.
Because, you know, that kind of gives you that
So
tenant
different.
that's anchoring the place, and then everybody builds off of it. Because
Put it on
really, a
Facebook
lot of people
page.
will move, I'm sorry,
What
I
about the
didn't
old
mean to interrupt. You know, the anchor tenant kind of drives what the other tenants will look like sometimes. You know, if you have an anchor tenant that does X, Y, and Z, then you have, I'll give you a restaurant, for example, then you get maybe a liquor store that's adjacent to it, or something, because you have commonality there. But you don't, if you don't know what is,
He originally had a vision, if I recall him saying, that he and his family were going to run something food-related in that
Deli,
space.
yeah.
Is that what he told you?
that'd
So-
be cool.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that would be really cool.
Okay.
A deli and a coffee shop in there would, like, deli/coffee shop would do really
Make
well,
it
and it has the
Wi-Fi
parking available.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I think
It's
it's
your
just,
wife
it would be a place to
Wi-Fi.
go and sit, I mean, we've got plenty of really good places, so, you know, but I think that, you know, who knows what else could go in there, a nice retail store, maybe a, you know, boutique place would be cool.
I think it's office space above.
Clearly office space
Yeah.
above, yeah.
Which will be good for some of the businesses on the list that need office. You know, so.
Okay, so
Great.
let's go to 8:15, we'll watch the Final Four tonight.
Yep.
What I'm doing.